and welcome back to Season 5 of Mad's World. I have so much juicy content lined up for you in this season, including more bad date stories, loads of advice, funny submissions from all of you, and of course, fabulous new guests and interviews. Before we jump in, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast when you have a moment. It helps us reach more people. And follow me on Instagram, it's at madsworld.mp3. In this episode, I am bloody thrilled to be joined by Erika Gajda, creator of Swipes for Daddy. Erika started her popular Instagram account, the sensational Swipes for Daddy, around 8 years ago. In a nutshell, Erika began setting her Tinder age range to 45 plus, asking the men who matched with her if they were dads, and then fueling the chaos that followed. Initially an in-joke with friends, she then began to post the hilarious content on Instagram, which began to go viral due to the cringe nature of the dating app screenshots. It also caused many people to question their online personas and presence when using dating apps. In this episode, we chat about all things age gaps. Alongside a couple of our own stories, we get deep on why Erika started the account, what she has learned, Tinder dads and who they are, the wealth disparity and power imbalances that come with them, and her advice on dating with a large age gap. Hi, Erika.
Hello, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling like I might be getting a cold, but I think it's just because I haven't left the house today and I've had the heat on full blast.
Oh my God, it's so weird that you say that because I have the worst cold in the world right now and everyone thinks I have COVID and I just don't.
No, I had that in August where I had full-blown COVID symptoms, but not COVID.
Yeah, and everyone just acts like you have the plague and they're like, don't come to dinner, don't do this. And I'm just like, guys, I swear I'm fine.
Yeah.
So let's jump into our speed date question round so everyone can learn a bit more about you, Erika. So outside running Swipes for Daddy, what is keeping you busy at the moment?
I've just changed careers for like the fourth time in my 20s, which isn't because like sometimes I hate my jobs. It's just a series of events that have led me to now working in audio. So I actually work in podcasts.
How ironic.
But I'm rarely on this side of it. So but my background's in science.
Wow.
So it's kind of an interesting route to now working in podcasts and, hugely disappointing to my parents.
And I guess it kind of links to running the experiment that Swipes for Daddy has somehow become.
It's a lot of the times that I was talking to dads was when I was in the lab, like doing RNA sequencing. I'd be like waiting for like an incubation period. I was like waiting for something for like 10 minutes. So I would just talk to the dads and then continue with the with the experiment. But yeah, I still tell the dads that I'm a scientist.
It sounds cool and sexy. My next question is, what do you look for in a friendship?
I love this question because I've had this conversation multiple times in the last maybe month. Where I've been talking to friends like in depth about what is important in friendships, especially as you make friendships, now that I'm like in my late 20s, it's harder to meet people and become really good friends with them. And throughout the pandemic, I actually became really close to a lot of my neighbors.
Oh, that's cool.
And my friend Georgia is actually my neighbor who I met at the coffee shop on our street.
Yeah.
And we just like clicked. And, we were kind of digging into how do you click with someone? It's just having good conversations. Do they inspire you in some way? Are they creative? Are they intelligent? Are they like, what do you get out of speaking to them that makes you want to speak to them more?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I'm sensitive about it, but I feel like when you live in a city, especially somewhere like London, there's so many, what do they call them, like social climbers?
Yeah.
Where you'll be in a conversation and you can tell that they either just want something out of you or they're gauging what they can get out of you. Or they're just on their phone the entire time. So I'm very into like finding these like meaningful, genuine connections with people.
Yeah, I think in the pandemic, it definitely became like so apparent as to what was important. And if you were living with housemates, because I was living with 3 housemates throughout the whole pandemic, everyone's, worst and best qualities were just amplified times a million. So I think the qualities in those people that made them become like family were kind of things like you were saying, we can laugh together, you learn from each other, like you just kind of think like, what do I actually want to get out of my friendships? And I think that definitely was heightened for a lot of people in the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. And then you realize, like, I don't want to live with this person anymore.
So true.
At the same time.
Yeah, me and my friend, we kind of were at each other's throats for the whole pandemic. We're like, I hate you, like can't live with you. But now that we've moved out, we're just like best friends again.
It's like, yeah, you don't want to meet your heroes. You shouldn't live with your best friend.
It's so true. It's a cliche for a reason.
Yeah.
Speaking about social climbers, I found that really interesting. How would you sum up social media in one word?
So it's technically 4 words.
That's allowed.
But it's IBS inducing.
Okay, good.
There's like, obviously there's loads of jokes online about like hot girls have IBS, or like there's like so much online about IBS specifically. And as someone who has a lot of stomach issues, like actual stomach issues from I have stomach ulcers, I have IBS, I have, I'm constantly going to the doctor. I think a lot of it has to do with social media.
Like the anxiety of it all?
Yeah. And also, but also because my job is so online, I have to be on, I'm on my computer from 9 to 6 at least every day. I'm just staring at a screen all day.
Yeah.
And then I'm staring at my phone at night. And I'm just kind of like, my stomach hurts. My stomach hurts.
It can be quite toxic, I think. Like, work is social and you are speaking to people at work or like at work all day long, but then to go to your online relationships after work as well, it is just like absolutely overwhelming sometimes. I think we all just need a bit of a break. But like you said, if it's your job, and like for me, promoting the podcast is all through social. I'm very active on social media as well. Like obviously just trying to push the podcast as much as I can. There's sort of no way that I can switch off and still do all of those things. So it's kind of like running on a treadmill. I don't really know what the solution is.
Yeah. And then, I've been talking for work a lot about the metaverse.
Oh my God. Yeah. I don't want that.
And I keep having nightmares that, like, when you have nightmares like right before you wake up around like 6 a.m.
Yeah, really vivid ones.
Really vivid ones. Every single morning lately, I've been having like intense nightmares at 6 a.m.
Yeah, that's so annoying.
And I always like wake up and then I start thinking about the future and like how fucked up everything is going to be. And like, I have a 4-year-old niece, and it just makes me so sad to think like, is she going to grow up like criticizing her own face on social media? Like, if I had to deal with this at a much younger age, I don't know how I would be able to cope.
I think we're similar ages, like late 20s, and social media wasn't massive for me until I was probably like 17, 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, in Australia, I think we had MySpace, and then, maybe 16 actually, like Facebook kind of becoming popular when we were 16. But before that, I'm so glad that we missed that like last little boat of people that have social media as kids, because it is so damaging.
Yeah, 100%. And I was a very online kid, if you haven't noticed. Yeah. Like, I was on MySpace in the 6th grade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I got my first AOL screen name in like 1998. Like, my brother, it was like Dolphins 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 7 7 8 9 10.
Love that.
Because I think my brother just typed in Dolphins, and that was like the first one available, and he was like, "This is what you're getting."
I used to love dolphins. I had a dolphin lamp. It was just everything.
I don't even like dolphins. I was like, I don't know where this came from.
It just says so much about you.
I was just like, I don't care. I'm just happy to be here.
I just love AOL. So good.
Going into the kids' chat rooms.
What would be the title of your memoir?
Oh, this would be A Pocket Full of Disappointment.
That's good.
I think I originally was like, oh, maybe it would be like Daddy's Little Disappointment, because I'm sure my parents are really disappointed in me all the time.
Oh,
but
I'm sure they're not. You've got an amazing Instagram account.
Oh, yeah. My Polish immigrant parents care so much.
It sounds like something out of Cards Against Humanity. I will read it when it does come out.
Thank you. Day. Good to know.
My last question for Speed Date question round is, what other Instagram accounts or creatives are really inspiring you at the moment?
So this is an interesting question, because I am like really obsessed with children's book illustration Instagrams right now. Like Laguna Vintage, I think. It's like a collection of children book illustrations from the 60s on. There's another one called Ollie Ollie Oxenfree books. And it's just these like really sweet children's book illustrations from like the 60s and 70s.
It sounds really cute. I really need to check this out.
Yeah, and they're just like it's like tiny little mice making tea in their like tree lodge cabin. I don't know. I think I've become obsessed with it just because of my fear of the metaverse.
Right. It's just like taking you back to a simpler time.
I just want to be like a tiny chipmunk that runs a key cutting shop, you know?
Yeah. Yes. Somehow I know. It makes no sense, but I know.
It's like, it's visual ASMR, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
Just like imagining such a simple, easy life of just sitting next to the fire.
I've been fantasizing a lot about like moving to Thailand and just having like a bar and wearing no shoes and like just having no internet and all that sort of thing. But I'm like, I don't know how long that would last me before I got bored and wanted to be in a big city where there's like noise and people vomiting outside your house in London and like shit like that.
Genuinely. I don't know, because maybe, I guess I would miss it. I definitely would miss it.
You miss the hustle and bustle when you're used to it, I think. I think a quiet life. But then how quiet would a bar in Thailand be? You'd be meeting people all the time. It would be quite good. I don't know.
You'd have to deal with tourists.
You would, but hopefully they'd just all be cool English people, you know?
I hope that's a joke.
Yeah, no. Cool English and cool Australian people. Australian and English tourists are not good. Let's not lie.
I mean, Americans aren't any better.
Up next is our story time round, where we usually get guests to speak about their funniest or their best date. And I thought that you might want to share one about dating an older guy.
This is kind of a funny story.
Okay.
This was maybe year 2 into running Swipes for Daddy.
Amazing.
And I was working as a lab manager at a university in a small town in New Jersey. And the department that I worked in the ecology and evolutionary department of the school, would have a beer hour on Fridays. And I hate Fridays. Like, I really hate Fridays.
That's so random.
Because back in the day when you had to go into work Monday through Friday, I was so fed up by Friday talking to people that I just wanted to go home.
Yeah, and everyone wants to carry on a Friday, don't they? And you're like, I'm sick of you people. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
And I don't want to talk about work.
Yeah.
I don't, like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm going home. But anyways, one of my coworkers was like, Erika, you need to come to beer hour. There's this guy from the press. There was like a publishing company in the town. And for some reason, they kept coming to our beer hour, stealing our beer, because someone in the department was friends with them. And she was like, Erika, there's this guy. He's older. He's like a silver fox. He's so handsome. You'll love him. Like, you have to come to beer hour.
Okay.
And so I was like, yeah, I don't care. And then one day I decide to go to beer hour. I totally forget about this guy. And I'm telling a story. And this little, a little circle forms around you.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's this gorgeous silver fox like listening to me. I'm like, who is this man?
Oh my god.
Really good. He looked like Anderson Cooper, but like better.
Okay. I'm imagining someone amazing now.
I'll send you a photo.
Please do.
He introduces himself. His name's Bob.
Great name.
And we end up spending the whole night chatting, and we end up like going to a bunch of different bars in town. And the whole time we were just chatting, and everyone's like smirking that I ended up like kind of on this like impromptu date with this man. And keep in mind, at the time I was 23.
Okay, and you're with the silver fox in front of all your work colleagues. Love it.
Yeah, and like my boss wasn't there, but like other scientists that I respect and see me as a child were there. Yeah, so anyways, I was 23 and he was 47.
Oh god.
And we were in this one bar, and he was telling me a story about his first car. Mm-hmm. And he was going on about it, and he was like, yeah, it was back in 1993. And I was like, oh, that's the year that I was born. Oh. And then he kept going on about how he couldn't take the train into the city anymore because his back hurt. And it was all these like kind of like red flags of like, this is like an older man. And 47 isn't that old. But I think at 23, to me, he was still like, he's an old guy.
Yeah.
And he was really sweet. And then we met up for coffee later on. He brought me some books, and I think I just kind of freaked out a bit. My roommate saw me at the coffee shop with him, and he was like, "Oh, were you there with your boss?" And I was like, "Oh no, that was a date."
Oh no.
And I think I was so hyper aware of how it looked, and because I was in such a small town,
like people talk,
and I think I was also just kind of like uncomfortable. You know, this like even like the small things of like my back hurts, so I can't take the train into the city. I'm like, what am I gonna do with him?
Yeah, like, go karting. Nope.
He'll die if I have sex with him. Like,
oh my god,
I don't know what to do. So I think the optics of it just made me a bit
and the reality of it.
Yeah, but he wasn't a dad, and like he was really nice, but he was really boring at the same time.
That's hard. I guess that would be something like that becomes really apparent with age differences. You have such different interests as well, and if you can't talk about the same things, like it's just, what are you going to speak about?
And I think that's my whole thing with like age differences and why I started the account in the first place. It's not so much of like all age gap relationships are bad. It's like, no, like what do you have in common with me?
Yeah.
When I started talking to dads, I was 20 living in a basement with 5 other girls. Like,
wait, what?
Like, I'm going to bring a fucking airplane pilot into my college dorm
to sleep on the concrete floor with his bad back.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I do love that story. I've got something I really want to share with you. So
please.
This is a voice note that a friend of mine received from a guy that she'd been on like one date with. And she was like, "Can you tell me about your weirdest like sex experience?" And he was like, and I'll do a voice disguising thing on it because I don't actually know this guy, but she has given me permission to put it in the podcast, and it is just so funny. I'm just going to play it and we can talk about it afterwards.
So it's a bit of a long story. I'll set the scene for you. I am 19, my second year at university. It's just before Christmas. I am at a pub, which is like very, very busy. Quite drunk because 19, isn't it? And then, got a table with 2 of my mates. It was absolutely rammed. It was quite a big table. And then these 3 women came over, and I'll have to be careful what I say about their age, but they came over, and considering I was 19, it turns out they were 32. So at 19, that's a bit of a gap, but 32 is not old in any way. So anyway, they came over and they were like, "Oh, can we sit at your table, please? Because it's rammed, because we can't get anywhere else." And we were like, "Yeah, sure." And then 2 of them started arguing with my 2 mates about politics, like quite a heated debate. But I was like, not asked about joining in. Asked, again, hint, hint. And then basically the one that wasn't arguing also just suddenly like grabbed me under the table, and she was like, "Come outside with me." So I was like, "All right." So I went, and she was like, "You're right, you look fucking freezing," because I went to uni in Sheffield. And I was like, "Yeah, I am quite cold." And she was like, "I tell you what's going to happen. You're going to come back with me, and I'm going to give you a nice hot bath." So I was like, "Oh, buzzing. A nice hot bath is what?" I didn't have a bath at my student house. So I went back with her, and she like,
oh my God,
started filling up the bath. And I was like, whipped all my clothes off because I was very keen. But the water was like really shit. And she was like, "Fucking British Gas, honestly, you can't get service these days, can you?" And I was like, "No, it's terrible, isn't it? Yeah." She's getting 40 quid 40 quid a month and this is what you fucking get. And I was like, yeah, it's really bad. Anyway, got in the bath, and then I expected her to also get in, but she did not. She, honest to God, like, just washed me. So, like, within an inch of my life, like, really, really washed me. And you know when you're a kid and your mom, like, fills up, like, a little jug of water and then holds your hair back while she, like, pours it over your head? She did that. And there was, like, a rubber duck. And it was really fucking weird. And she, like, washed, like, my area and went like, oh, while you're down there, and then just like rammed her finger at my ass, and I was like, oh. That was my first time. And then I got out and I was like, oh. And then I tried to initiate more when I got into bed, and she was like, nah, I don't sleep with strangers. And I was like, okay. Then the next day I woke up, and this was like before Uber, and I didn't have any money and I didn't know where I was, and I was like, oh, I need to get a taxi home. And she was like, and she gave me 50 quid, which is obviously 2 20s and a 10. And I was like, that's way too much, I don't need that. And she was like, no, keep it, take it. So I think I basically pimped myself out. And then I took my friends for Nando's the next day with the 50 quid. Told them all about Terry, was her name. We've been talking about Terry for like 4 or 5 years since that, because obviously it's really, really funny. I went to live in Spain after uni for 4 years. Went back to Sheffield. Got an interview at a school to work there as an English teacher. Walk in, and guess who's bloody interviewing me? Terry. Terry the bath lady.
How crazy is that?
Happens.
I know. I don't know.
Did she recognize him?
I don't know. Like, I don't know what happens next. And I'm just hoping by putting this story out there that we find this person and he comes on the podcast and tells us more, because what the actual fuck?
I love him.
I love him so much, and I love his voice, and I feel like I just know so much about him, but I don't even know his name. So
I love that he just went with it. For a second, I really panicked because I was like, I think I might have gone on a date with this guy.
You know his voice.
I went on a date with like a northern. He wasn't real. Yeah, I guess northern guy who had a kind of a similar story, like a pretty similar story.
Oh my God, maybe she does this all the time.
Yeah. I don't know what town he was in. I don't know if it was Sheffield.
Good.
But it was like he went on a date with an older woman, and he felt like really creeped out by it.
Oh my God. Do you know what it was for me? It's the little jug. It's the little jug to wash the head. It's so funny.
The rubber ducky too.
Yeah, the whole thing is just such a classic.
But how did he just go with it?
I don't know. I guess when you're 19 and you're just drunk and you're just weird and up north, you're like, oh, I'll just do whatever.
There's nothing else to do.
Oh God. So that's my favorite story of an older woman experience.
She's not even that, like, she was 32. Yeah.
That's not even that much older than me.
I can't imagine any of my friends in their early 30s doing this.
It's just so funny. But the best part is just that she ended up interviewing him for a job. So we don't know. We don't know if he got it.
I don't love that she works at a school.
Yeah, the whole thing. It's very confusing and very weird. But anyway, we move. So I wanted to know a bit more about the concept of swipes for daddy. Now that we've got everyone's attention, can you talk me through how you run the account and how the whole process works?
For the longest time, I just had Tinder on my phone with the age setting set to 45 and up.
Mm-hmm.
And I always use outdated photos of myself, because when I first started running the account, I walked past 2 of the dads.
Oh my God. Really?
Yeah, I was living in Boston, and I was in the, like, this, I forget what they call it, like the subway.
Yeah.
And I saw one from afar. No, I saw two from afar, like during my work commute. And then there was one dad who said that he would hang out at the Starbucks near where I worked.
Oh, God.
He didn't know where I worked because I always have a fake job.
Yeah.
But he was like, oh, I'm at those Starbucks in Central Square or something, or Harvard Square. And I was like, shit. Like, I walked past that every single day. So I always make sure I use outdated photos where, like, my haircut or color is, like, different to how it is now. And then my profile just says, Paul Simon fan looking for a man. And my Spotify song is My Life by Billy Joel.
Great.
Which is really good bait because it's a song about divorce.
Good.
And so basically, I was running, I was swiping on men over 45 on my phone until my Tinder got deactivated because it was reported too many times.
Why?
My hunch is because I never meet up with the dads.
Right.
So I kind of like ghost them.
Oh, no. And they get butthurt and then report your account. Oh, dear.
So I had to get a separate burner phone just for Tinder. I'm very lucky that one of my followers, Mateo, gifted me one of his old iPhones.
Thank you, Mateo, if you're listening to this.
Yeah, he's the best. So now I have a nicer iPhone than my own just for Tinder.
Just for the account.
Just for the account, yeah. And so so my age settings are still, 45 and up. I look for men that look like your classic mowing the lawn kind of guys. And I swipe right. And then I just I start every conversation on my side with, what do you do? Do you have kids? Because I need to immediately weed out the men who aren't dads.
Is that just because it's what the account was born from? Yeah.
And I also think like there's a big difference in terms of how, like middle-aged men treat younger people based on their relationship with younger people. Like,
right.
You would assume that someone who's like 50 who has kids, or 60 with kids my age, they're going to see me with a more paternalistic lens.
Yeah.
Or you would hope that. Whereas like if a man's like a 60-year-old bachelor who's never raised a kid.
Yeah, you can understand his mindset a bit more.
Yeah. So for me, it's more about finding out why these dads see me as a sex toy.
I see. And so what inspired you to start the page?
There's kind of two reasons.
Yeah.
I am notoriously good with dads. Like in my friend group. Like whenever someone's dad or grandfather came to visit in college, I was always the one chatting them up.
Yep.
And I was always like the favorite. Like, oh, my dad really liked you. And I was like, yeah, I know. And so I'm just good with parents. And so that kind of became like a long running joke of me, eventually ending up with a much older man. And then also Tinder was new when I was in college.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be funny. And I always dabbled in like comedy projects and making videos and writing jokes in my notebooks. And I kind of wanted to do like a joke account. And like meme pages were kind of becoming a big thing around then.
Yeah.
And so Tinder was known as a hookup app for young people.
Yeah.
And when I was messing around with the settings, I realized at that time, they could only go to 45 plus.
Really?
Yeah. So you couldn't set it any higher than 45 plus.
That's so weird as a concept, isn't it? Like, I think you can go to like 99 plus now or something.
Yeah. So back then it said to me like, oh, this is an app for millennials. Like this is an app for young people. Zoomers weren't on the scene yet.
Zoomers.
Lucky them. And so I set my settings to 45 plus, and then I swiped right on all of them. And I was, smoking weed on my friend's porch, probably, chatting to the dads. And it just became really ridiculous really fast. And I kept all my answers curt. Like I tried to be as short as possible.
Yeah, to let them lead the direction of the conversation.
Yeah. And so I was 20 when this was happening.
I see, yeah.
I was living in Seattle. I was matching with scientists, engineers, pilots, like people with like respectable careers.
Yeah.
And they just, went to town with their fantasies.
Oh
with me saying not very much.
It doesn't take much, yeah. From what I've seen on the page, you literally give them nothing and they give you everything.
Yeah. And there was one dad that inspired the account, really.
Yeah.
Where he just kind of like on his own started describing his fantasy of me, like, crawling to his doorstep or some shit and asking if I'm shaved or waxed and what piercings do I have, and just very, very like explicit requests. And his profile picture was him with his like 4-year-old son in his lap.
Oh my God.
So the juxtaposition of his fantasy with his profile picture just like burned itself into my mind.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And I just like swipes for daddy as a concept was born.
And there it was born.
And, it was kind of something I did as a haha amongst my friends. And then when I moved to Boston, I decided to take it online and started posting it as swipes for daddy.
I see. And how quickly did it like escalate?
Oh, it took a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it really kind of grew once I did an interview for Dazed.com.
Oh, yeah.
I was in London, so like 2018. I think it snowballed from there. But for a long time, I was hovering around like 20,000 followers.
And you don't take submissions to the page. It's all of your own work. Does it take up like a lot of your time?
It can. Like, it depends how bored and busy I am.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have devoted thousands and thousands and thousands of hours to it. And I don't make money from it. Like, everything's kind of, out of my own pocket, out of my own time.
Yeah.
And so by this point, yes, I have spent like more time than I should have on the account. But now I'm trying to really like, having a burner phone really helps because, and I don't have like a SIM card in it. So it only works with Wi-Fi. I don't carry it around. Mm-hmm. So it's something, sometimes I check it in the morning, but for the most part, I just, before I go to bed, I check on the dads.
Check on them like they're little Tamagotchis.
Like they're fish. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Like that's how I'm so detached from it.
Yeah.
Like to me, I wouldn't say it's like a game.
They're like Pokemons.
It's like my Candy Crush.
Oh my God, that's so dark, but I love it. So you were just saying, like, obviously you've got the burner phone and you're kind of trying to detach yourself from it. So have you found that it has affected your dating life? And like, can you still use dating apps for real, or is it all just a bit weird?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely really made me hold men to a much higher standard than I think I would have without having run the account for so long.
Yeah.
And I think I look for qualities that I think can evolve into a Tinder dad personality type and avoid it.
Okay. What kind of qualities would they be?
Just like people who don't listen, or like like people who only respond to one part of a text.
Okay.
I find really frustrating.
Yeah.
Just like people, like, I don't know, just like when you could tell like a guy doesn't really respect you and he's kind of after one thing. I mean, these are all very like easy qualities to pick up on.
Yeah.
But also kind of, closed-mindedness.
Yeah.
Is still, even amongst the most woke men, there are ones who will surprise you with things that they say.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Even some things like guys that you respect and are friends with, they'll come out with something and you're just like, wait, do you actually think that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then you're just like, wait, is my perception of you completely wrong?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I still like, I still date.
Yeah.
I'm not, well, actually at the moment I'm not, but I think sometimes I have a really hard time not talking to men my age like I do the dads.
Yeah.
And I don't really it's like I almost go into my like swipes for daddy persona.
Oh no. It's crossing over.
So bad. It's so bad. And I'm just like really short. And then like if they ask me 2 questions, I'm like annoyed. I'm like, why do you need to know this?
Stop prying into my personal life.
Yeah. So I think that part of it, I think I really need to not date online.
Like, do you use dating apps for real then on your normal phone?
Like, I have Hinge, I have Raya. I haven't like dated really since August. I'm like I've been like pretty put off dating. Not for like any reason in particular, but kind of looping back to what we were saying about friends. And, you know, I plan on moving out of London sometime in the next year. I kind of don't feel the need to date. Like, I don't want to date seriously, and I don't want to lead anyone on. Because that's kind of the situation I had in August, where I was actually dating a guy 10 years older than me. Yeah. And he's lovely, and I have nothing bad to say about him. But we were just, you know, we have very different expectations. Like, he wants to settle down and have kids, and he's telling me this up front.
Yeah, and if you've got different like motivations and different pathways and stuff as well, it can be really hard to sort of see a future there too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like there's no way of even going into something open-minded and seeing where it goes when one person has very serious and like totally understandable things that they want in their life, and I'm not going to waste their time.
Yeah.
And I think that situation made me feel like, oh, maybe I should take a step back, because I don't want to lead anyone on.
It is good to have a break, and I think you get a new perspective as well once you've had a bit of a break, and like it can make dating fun again. Because I was saying this in an earlier podcast that I recorded with someone last week, it can become to feel a bit like a chore sometimes, and you're just kind of going through the motions or trying to keep up with all your friends who are going out or people who have boyfriends or whatever, and it's not fun. Like, you kind of why am I going through this? It just sucks, you know?
It's such a waste of money.
Yeah. Like, oh my god. Yeah.
I had one of the worst dates of my entire life also like a couple months ago.
Oh, please tell.
The long story short of it was and it was from like Hinge, and I was like, he seems really cool. He has a cool job. He was Australian, actually.
Look out.
He like really wanted to do dinner, and I was like, I don't do dinner first dates. I just don't. Like, I view a first date from a dating app as a meet and greet. Like, I have no idea if I'm going to be physically attracted to you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like, men are really good at catfishing.
Yeah. And if it's dinner, you have to sit through like longer than you would normally want to anyway, because it takes time to like get the food, like decide what you're going to have, like get the bill. It's not like you can just stay for a drink and leave. It's a commitment.
No. And he only picked out like really expensive restaurants in Soho.
Okay. And like, if he's picking that, he's got to pay.
We'll get there. And I was like, this is really out of my budget. Like, I was unemployed for most of the pandemic. Like, I'm just, you know, I was not thrilled with any of it. But I assumed because he, you know, requested these fancy restaurants that he was going to pay.
And if he's suggesting them and he's asked you out, I feel like that's can be expected, you know? Like, if you're choosing somewhere a bit more normal, fine to split the bill. But if you're suggesting places that are out of like, you know, the normal realm of what is considered like where you wouldn't just go with your mates for a chill meal, then I'm like, no, I'm sorry, this is on you.
So we go to this Japanese restaurant. He orders the tasting menu for both of us.
Oh my god.
And the date was just so, like, this guy had zero like self-awareness. Like, he was just saying all the wrong things.
Yeah.
For the most part, he looked like his photos, but like nerdier. And like, maybe, you know, if he had a great personality, I wouldn't really like think much of it, but he was just so awful.
Oh god.
And I don't think he like this guy had no moral compass.
Oh my god. And a tasting menu like takes a while.
We were there for like 4 hours. No. And then I just wanted to go home. I wanted to go home so bad. And then the bill came, and he goes, so we're splitting it? And it was £100 each.
You're joking.
No.
Oh,
and he had more to drink than me. He had more drinks than me.
Oh, that is so annoying. There's nothing worse than when you're not enjoying yourself. You're having a crap date, and then like they either ask you to split the bill, or it's like they're like, oh, can you get us a drink? Like, if you're getting up to go to the bathroom or whatever, and you're like, I just want to go. Like, I just want to leave. I feel like I have to stay.
And like at that point, first of all, he was like, oh, so we're splitting it. So like, what was I going to say? No.
Yeah. Like, what can you say there? It's not like, oh, do you want to split it? But then even then, also, how do you say no? It's so awkward. Oh, God.
And then if he pays for the whole thing, then there's that whole
obligation feeling. Yeah. Oh, God. I hate being a woman.
I know. And I think that situation, maybe it was that situation more than the other breakup, but like, I was just like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do this at all.
But I mean, you just don't have to. And I think, like, that's the main thing. It's just, if it's not fun, just don't stop doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just have a break and chill out, and then wait until you actually, like, want to do it.
Yeah. And I'm also having, like, a blast just hanging out with friends lately. Like,
so good, isn't it?
I'm, like, really into just, like, hanging out with my girlies.
So much fun post-pandemic, like going on girls' nights. I really forgot about them, and then they're just back.
Yeah. It's so great. Or, like, I booked myself a facial.
Oh,
like, in a
stunning.
week. And I'm just like, you know what? I can't wait. I would much rather spend money on that than, like, meeting up with some schmuck at a pub.
Yeah. And like sometimes that's like the litmus test. This is what someone said to me recently. They do this litmus test. You're a scientist. I don't even know if litmus test is the right term, but you can tell me if it is. But pretty much he said the litmus test for a good date is if you would rather be like with your friends or spending that time like reading a book or watching a Netflix. Like if you'd rather be doing something else while you're on the date, that's the litmus test of whether you should see someone again. Is that the right use of the word litmus test, science test?
I guess so, because a litmus test is just that little piece of paper that checks, God, I'm not a chemist. Is it, the political use of a litmus test is a judgment about whether someone or something is acceptable.
Oh my God, it is exactly a litmus test.
But in chemistry, because I don't know if it's it's for whether a solution is acidic or basic.
There you go.
I was going to say that, but then I was like, what if I'm actually really wrong?
And then everyone's like, you're a real scientist.
I studied ecology.
Oh my God. Oh God, we've gone on such a tangent here. I have a couple of... So no, it's great. It's been such a great conversation. Have you ever met someone through doing the experiment that you actually really fancied and ended up going out with or like wanting to speak to more?
No.
Never? You've never met anyone that you're like, oh, they're actually like a good person?
No.
Oh my God. And how long have you been doing this? 8 years?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, that says volumes, doesn't it?
I mean, I'm sure, there are definitely like dads that I've spoken to where I'm like, oh, he's actually like not a bad guy, or like he's actually like, I appreciate like hearing his side of it, of like a story. Like recently I was talking to like an army veteran who was actually like very anti-war, but my instinct was like, oh, this guy, you know, probably right wing, but actually he had like a very interesting take. But like I wouldn't meet up with him. Like I'm not gonna meet up with coffee. When I was home last year at my parents' in the States, there was a guy that I matched with who didn't turn out to be a dad, but he was pretty hot.
Nice.
So we would chat a bit, and then he would like check in on me a few weeks later, and I was like, I don't know if I actually told him whether or not I was on the app authentically.
Yeah. Do people often ask you like, are you trolling me, or are you like, is this a joke or anything, or do they ever suspect it, or are they just massive Zoomers and they don't think about it?
No, they don't think. I think what they do run in, I think they get a lot of like bot.
Oh yeah. That's a thing for guys on dating apps, or like prostitutes as well, I've seen, trying to sell their like services and stuff, or OnlyFans people.
Yeah. I think I had a dad block me the other night, or maybe it was yesterday, because I start everything with, what do you do? Do you have kids? And he immediately was like, you gold digger, you're just after me for my money. And I was like, no, like
I'm after you for your screenshots of your bad conversation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, they kind of always assume that I'm not a real person. Like they're like, a lot of times they're surprised I'm a real person.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of funny, a little bit sad, but I don't feel that bad.
Do you think there's a power dynamic when dating someone with an age gap? And like, where would that power lie? Would it lie with you, or would it lie with one of the dads?
Both. To an extent. I think, you know, it's a tricky one because it depends really on each person's financial situation. Like so much kind of revolves around money. And a lot of these dads, you know, offer that. They'll like, I'll take care of you. Even if it's like an authentic like girlfriend relationship that they're looking for.
Yeah.
Money is like a big thing that they hold over you. And considering we're in a time where we have one of the largest intergenerational wealth inequalities, you know, like I'm never going to make as much money as a boomer has.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never going to be able to buy a house at the price that they were able to. So I do think, like, there is 100% imbalance between, women in their 20s and men in their 50s.
Yeah, I guess it's just what you see as power as well, whether you see sex and attractiveness and those things as power, or whether you see money as power, as you were saying.
Yeah, but even like sex and looks, like the thing that I always tell the dads when they're like, oh, I'm looking for a tight young pussy. I'm like, I was like, I'm going to age. Like, I'm not going to stay 28 forever, and you're going to grow bored of me as well. So, like, how long does my worth doesn't last as much as theirs?
Yeah, that's so true. God, that's so interesting.
I'm going to take you down a very dark route.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love having my own opinions tested and my thoughts tested. It's just what the podcast's all about.
But like I said, like, I was dating a guy 10 years older than me, and he was, much farther in his career.
Yeah.
Had his own place. But we got along so well. We had, similar backgrounds and everything. But there was too much kind of like basic things that we didn't have aligned. Like,
what do you mean, like foundational values, or do you mean interests?
No, I think our foundational values were similar in that, like, he had very strong like morals and ethics, and his parents were also immigrants, and like there's like an indebtedness to your parents, and I don't like, I really got along with him, but he was just ready to settle, and I was kind of like, oh shit, like,
not there yet.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to.
Well, that's the thing. Even if two people like love each other or you get on so well, it's all timing and circumstance. Like, if you're at the wrong time in your life, or if you're like, your lives are circumstantially different, like you want to live in different places or you want different things, like it comes down to that. And it's as important as love. Like, I went through a breakup this year, and it wasn't because we didn't love each other. It was because of circumstance and just bad timing. Like, he was younger than me. It was never going to work, and you just can't help those things sometimes, but they're just key.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, I think there are definitely people who can fall in love with big age gaps so long as they're aligned in the same things. And I think the thing that Swipes for Daddy really brought to light is just showing how large the disparity really is between older men and younger women.
Yeah.
Just like where we are culturally, where we are financially, like where society is, even the way that like boomers use the internet versus how we use the internet.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
We're so detached. This isn't like the Middle Ages where I live in a village and the only guy I could kind of fuck is my uncle, like,
oh, I wish it was.
Oh, yeah, I wish it was. Let's bring back incest.
Woo! And that's the moral of this episode.
But yeah.
So do you have any advice for anyone wanting to date older men? So obviously we've talked about having the same values and the same like circumstances and the same sort of aligned timing with what you want in life, but having spoken to so many Tinder dads, what would be your key advice for someone who is dating with an age gap or is hoping to date with an age gap?
I think, like, don't, unless you're doing it for money. Like, if you're like a sugar baby, like, fine, do it. Like, make that, like, get a buck.
Yeah.
But like, personally, I've become so turned off by older men running the account, just because I think the thing that really, really scared me is, so kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, how I was matching with like doctors and engineers and like these people who had really respectable careers that I would respect if I met them in the real world.
And you'd look up to them normally.
And look up to them, especially when I was like 20.
Yeah.
Seeing how they behave online. People don't know that they have that online persona. They don't know that Dr. Johnson is picking up 19-year-olds online. Like,
yeah,
I just don't really trust them.
Yeah, it's like a dark side to people.
But also, they're the kind of men who are middle-aged and on Tinder is a very specific subset of the population.
That's true.
If I met, a 50-year-old man at a coffee shop and we bonded over something, the song that's on.
Billy Joel.
It could be different. Like, it could genuinely be very different in the real world. It's just the men who are choosing to find a hookup or a girlfriend on an app.
Yeah.
Very superficially looking at photos. You know, I don't know if I would advise women my age to do that.
So the moral of the story is don't look for Tinder dads on Tinder. Find them in real life.
Yeah. That's all it is. Go to your local Home Depot, your B&Q. Say that you're painting your bedroom.
Yeah. I love that.
I think that would be a great pickup line.
It would. I'm painting my bedroom. Do you want to come and help me?
Because the thing is, I always joked about, I was always the girl joking about, like, sleeping with her professor.
Yep.
Like, I was like, oh, he's so hot. Like, I'll do it for an A. And that's part of why I started the account. And then I like, got scared. I was like, oh, shit, never mind. I really don't want to sleep with any of these guys.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Swipes for Daddy in a nutshell. This has taken such a crazy turn, and I have loved recording this with you. We've gone to some strange places, but I really enjoyed it.
I'm so sorry. I was like, this is, like, not funny at all. This is all very dark.
No, it was great. There was definitely so much laughs in there, and we learned, which was the most important thing of all.
Yeah, we learned.
We learned. So thank you, Erika, for joining the podcast.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No worries at all. I'll have to have you back again sometime soon because you were a fantastic guest. I hope you enjoyed my chat with Erika. Please let me know on my Instagram. It's at madsworld.mp3, or on my website, it's madsworld.co, if you have any stories or thoughts of your own to share. Love and elbow taps. Peace.